Hey there, everyone. It's GG Sober Sun. September 16th, AA Thought for the Day. Today, let us begin a short study of the 12 suggested steps of AA. These 12 suggested steps seem to embody 5 principles. The first step is the membership requirement step. The second, third, and 11th step are the spiritual steps of the program. The 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 10th steps are the personal inventory steps. The 8th, 9th, and 9th steps are the restitution steps. The 12th step is the passing on of the program or helping others step. So the 5 principles are membership requirement, spiritual basis, personal inventory, restitution, and helping others. Have I made all these steps a part of me? That's a good way to break it down. I've heard it put that way before, and it's important. It's not necessary, I guess, but it's good to have it sort of boiled down to those 5 principles for sure. Giving it away is so important, but also, the other principles are certainly important. Meditation for the day. We seem to live not only in time, but also in eternity. If we abide with God and He abides with us, we may bring forth spiritual fruit which will last for eternity. If we live with God, our lives can flow as some calm river through the dry land of earth. This can cause the trees and flowers of the spiritual life, love and service, to spring forth and yield abundantly. Spiritual work may be done for eternity, not just for now. Even here on earth, we can live as though our real lives were eternal. Yes, and not that heaven is up necessarily, right? The God of my understanding says the kingdom of heaven is now, is amongst us. And so basically, but the spirit is to aim up rather than aim down, and we can do that in AA, right? I was just talking to somebody about it this morning, really confirming it for myself that how many times I thought that I had graduated from AA, and that the logical next step was to go to church where I can expand my spiritual growth, my spiritual program, right? And that is hugely important to enlarge, as it says in the book, enlarge our spiritual program. But it doesn't necessarily have to be in a church fellowship. It's been my experience that churches are trying to get at what we naturally get in any 12-step recovery. That we're flawed people who've been through some hard times. We're flawed, traumatized people who are trying to just aim up, or just focusing on aiming up. And, we're tired of being defeated by our addictions and our impulses and things like that. And we have a program of action that helps us to aim up. We have a pathway to, if you want to call it salvation or enlightenment, whatever whatever you want to call it. Not that we have to work our way to salvation. It's just accepting that we are loved and that somebody else has already done the heavy lifting for us in terms of cleansing us. We just have to surrender every bad thing we have within us rather than trying to wrestle with it or work on it. There's a lot of people in recovery rooms that talk about, I need to work on, I'm working on this or that character defect, right? Did you work on your recovery? Yeah, I mean, there's some certain steps that you need to do, clearly, but there's suggestions, and it's really just a matter of how good do you want to feel, or how bad do you want to keep feeling, right? So it's just like an inherent built-in motivation. The book says, we think a man unthinking, we think a person unthinking that says sobriety is enough. It's like the man who comes out of the storm cellar and just says, ain't it grand the wind stopped blowing? You know? It's like there's some reconstruction that needs to take place. But it's natural. It's not like an added homework assignment. You know what I mean? It's not like you gotta grind for God kind of thing. It's just, hey, we're living life. And, you know, we're drinking wasn't working for us anymore, but we realize we can't do it on our own. So we have to be in fellowship with other like-minded people that we're beaten down and are aiming up. Come on. That's what I'm talking about. Right? It doesn't have to be complicated. And it's not complicated. We do, you know, they say it's a simple program for complicated people. Yes, we can overcomplicate things. I can overcomplicate things, I should say. But it is a simple program. And I love that it's boiled down to 5 simple principles. And they say that principles are like laws of nature. You don't break them. You work with them. Or you break yourself against them. You know, try to defy gravity on your own, right? You will pay. Right? Restitution is huge. And to give away what you've been given is necessary. But to go back to what I was saying about thinking that I graduated from AA, it's like the early church met every day. And my church meets at most twice or maybe 3 times a week. If I really, if I'm involved with something else, like, I'm on the prayer team kind of thing, we meet during the week, most weeks. But AA meets every day, several times a day, right? So we're more like the early church than my church. And I'm not bagging on the church. They're, in a sense, they're just groping around for what this walk, what this life means, right? And it's, the big book says, the spiritual life is not a theory. We have to live it. It's not just something we go hear about on Sundays and then go about our daily life and touch base again on Sundays, Now, I used to, when I was growing up, I went to church that would meet Sunday morning, Sunday evening, and Wednesday evening. But still, that's nowhere near how often the early church met up. It's nowhere near how often AA meetings are every day. So, and that is necessary because meeting that many times, that often, and I don't every day, right? I try to do, well, my aim is to go be in some type of 12-step recovery meeting every day. Not always AA for me. Sometimes I go to ACA, Adult Children Anonymous, recovering from childhood complex PTSD, complex trauma. And a lot of people think that, once they do the 12 steps in AA, that's all they need. One and done. But it says we practice these principles in all our affairs, in every area of our life, and in every season of our life. And it even says that some of us go in for an annual house cleaning, right? So that's working the steps every year. But for me, it's been beneficial in ACA, just as an aside, to take a deep dive into the causes and conditions for why I drank from the 4th step in the big book. It says our drinking was but a symptom of much deeper problems, basically. And so ACA is all that deals with all the foundational stuff that I learned growing up. And so that I can reframe all that stuff and acknowledge that, I may have been a victim with regard to all that stuff, but I can put it in its proper context and still learn and love and grow and not have a bunch of regrets and if-onlys. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may make my life like a cool river in a thirsty land. I pray that I may give freely to all who ask my help. How could I not? Right? We were talking about that this morning. It's like the 12th step is getting out of me. And even the 10th step. Because the 10th step talks about when these crop up: selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear, right? And that is hugely important. I'm going to try to find it in the big book here. No, this is goes into, where's it, family? No, it's the 10th step when it talks about working with it this close. Okay, page 84. This thought brings us to step 10, which suggests we continue to take personal inventory. Sorry. And continue to set right any new mistakes as we go along. We vigorously commenced this way of living as we cleaned up the past. We have entered the world of the Spirit. Our next function is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. This is not an overnight matter. It should continue for our lifetime. Continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear, or any other intrusive, unproductive thought. When these crop, and I added that last bit. When these crop up, not if, when these crop up, we ask God at once to remove them. We discuss them with someone immediately and make amends quickly if we have harmed anyone. Then we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help. Love and tolerance of others is our code. That, my friends, is, I was sharing about how a prominent psychologist said that self-consciousness is the same physiologically as anxiety. If I get anxious, the immediate antidote is to think of others, right? But without this process of the 10th step, which the first step, for lack of a better term, of the 10th step process is we ask God at once to remove it. We talk to somebody to get some perspective. That's my addition to it. If they see that, hey, you were kind of acting out of self there, and you might need to make amends, we go ahead and do that, right? And then we can just casually turn our thoughts towards someone we can help. If we jump straight to that last one, we're going to put somebody in a headlock until they let us help them. That is codependency. I've shared that before. We don't want to do that. So follow that process. Ask God at once to remove it. Talk to somebody about it. Make amends quickly if necessary. Turn our thoughts to someone we can help. That is the antidote to anxiety. It's great stuff. Good stuff, folks. Thanks for letting me share. Keep coming back. I love you. Look up. Aim up. Rise up.